The 12th of May saw the season's first major wildfires that spread to almost 8,000 hectares across Western Canada. Authorities issued an evacuation order in British Columbia and warned of poor air quality across provinces. Over 100 active wildfires raging in Canada have sent plumes of smoke drifting southward, blanketing several U.S. states in a haze. Mexico is fighting 159 wildfires across the country, amid the year's second heat wave that has put the nation's power grid under stress. More than 400 residents in northern Japan are urged to evacuate over fears of a forest fire that could spread to residential areas. And on the outskirts of Nepal's capital, firefighters and local residents battle a massive wildfire. The Himalayan nation endures a severe fire season amid a massive heat wave. As another summer approaches, wildfires become ever more deadly across southern Europe as well. Greece has developed a new doctrine to contain the damage, including deploying an extra fire truck to each new blaze, speeding up air support and clearing forests. In this episode, we tell you all about wildfires raging across the globe, how they are devastating to people, biodiversity, and ecosystems. What's behind recurring wildfires around the world? Does climate change contribute to it? And most importantly, can something be done to prevent these forest fires? We explain. The year 2024 has already been marked by climate extremes and rising greenhouse emissions. The first major wildfires of the year erupted in Canada. The country experienced one of its warmest winters with low to non-existent snow in many areas, raising fears ahead of a hot summer and triggering blazes in forests and wildlands. More than 3,000 people in British Columbia have been ordered to evacuate by authorities. Residents in the small town of Fort Nelson, 7 kilometers from the town, have been urged to leave immediately after a blaze almost doubled in size in 24 hours.
Over the weekend, and as of 7 a.m. this morning, approximately 4,700 people were placed under an evacuation order due to the Parker Lake wildfire in the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. This is a dynamic situation for all of the people living in the Northeast. You are not alone. We are in this together, and we will continue to get through this together.
Across the border in Alberta, residents of Fort McMurray, the major Canadian oil town, were also asked to prepare to leave. In 2016, a huge wildfire in Fort McMurray forced the evacuation of 90,000 residents and shut in more than 1 million barrels per day of oil output. This year, the government has warned Canada faces similar kind of catastrophic wildfire season, as it forecasts higher than normal spring and summer temperatures across much of the country. Look at this video captured by an eyewitness on the 10th of May. One can see clouds of smoke from Canada's wildfires billowing and blocking a highway that connects the Northwest Territories to Alberta. Reportedly, several roads and highways connecting Northwest Territories, Alberta, and British Columbia have been closed due to the smoke. There are currently more than 6 active wildfires in the Northwest Territories, and around 15 square kilometers have been affected so far. Even last year, in 2023, Canada battled its most shattering wildfire season. The blaze destroyed much of the country. It created hazardous smoky conditions across the continent and beyond, reaching as far away as Norway in northern Europe. The worst affected province was Quebec in eastern Canada. More than 6,600 blazes burned 15 million hectares in Canada in 2023. 8 firefighters died and 230,000 people were evacuated from their homes. A wildfire threatened another North American country, Cuba. The fire burned just outside the picturesque western valley town of Vinales. The 51 square mile or 13,210 hectare Vinales Valley is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and among Cuba's top and best known tourist destinations. The wildfire consumed approximately 350 hectares or about 1.5 square miles of the populated town of Vinales. Meanwhile, in the nearby southern part of North America, Mexico, a drought drags on. Subsistence farmers have begun taking direct action on thirsty avocado orchards and berry fields of commercial farms. In fact, in the month of March, a big fire hit an avocado farm in a special nature area in Morelia. Reportedly, fires in Mexico have destroyed about 3,049 hectares of forests in 18 states up until the end of March. Currently, Mexico is fighting over 100 active wildfires. The issue of wildfires has increased because of heat waves caused by rising temperatures in the country. Mexico's National Weather Service issued an alert that at least 12 states will experience temperatures higher than 45 degrees Celsius in the coming months, and that large swaths of the rest of the country are expected to see temperatures higher than 30 degrees Celsius. In April this year, a wildfire destroyed over 800 hectares of pine tree and oyamel forest in the central Mexican state of Morelos. Fire brigades managed to control 65% of the fire, but winds proved difficult to put out the fire completely.
This fire is immense. It's out of control.
The wind is the principal element against us. Even though we have the fire under control, the wind is playing against us because it accelerates the fire.
Wildfires are common in Mexico, especially during dry seasons. Factors like climate, vegetation, and human activity contribute to their occurrence. The country's diverse ecosystems experience varying degrees of fire risk throughout the year. Europe is increasingly facing bouts of heat. In mid-April this year, a fire raged out of control in the mountains of Tarbena in Spain's Alicante province, leading authorities to evacuate 180 people from their homes. The wildfire comes as Spain experienced unseasonal high temperatures in April, with many places marking 10 degrees Celsius higher than normal for the season. Heat, wind, and low humidity fueled the blaze, while reports said they may have started with an agricultural fire. Heat waves triggered wildfires across Europe. The situation is especially dire in Greece, which has recorded its warmest winter on record, creating ideal conditions for fires that threaten crops, homes, and the booming tourism industry. Remember what happened last year in Greece during the wildfire season? Let's recall. When firefighters arrived at a blaze in a pine forest on the Greek island of Rhodes last July, flames had already leapt above the trees into the night sky. The volunteers needed to act fast, but dense vegetation on the forest floor blocked access. With crews unable to get close, the fire spread and within days engulfed the Mediterranean island. It was one of the biggest disaster evacuations in Greece's history. The official fire season in Greece begins in the week of May and will continue until the end of October, in anticipation of another long, hot summer. Greece is doubling its firefighting crew and adopting new firefighting tactics. Greece has now developed a new doctrine to contain the damage, including deploying an extra fire truck to each new blaze, speeding up air support and clearing forest.
We hired another 700 firefighters this year, and we have 16 units now who are being airdropped from our helicopters and are spread out across our islands and mainland Greece. They will be closer to each situation and they will be faster and give an immediate response. Specialists, young people who are educated, trained, and they will enter the fire to help us to deal with it better and faster.
Kikilias also said for the first time after 50 years, taboos have been broken and firefighters can now enter the forest and create fire break zones. Under a €2.1 billion or $2.25 billion plan, Greece has concluded tenders for more than 1,000 fire engines and 7 DHC-515 aircraft, and plans to install sensors to detect smoke. The Himalayan state of India, Uttarakhand, also witnesses frequent and fierce forest fires. Wildfires continue to ravage various forest regions of the state since early April. Frequent fires are racing through the forests amid high temperatures and long, dry spells in the region. Authorities, including the forest and the fire department in Uttarakhand, are implementing the cloud seeding technique in fire-prone forest areas of the hill state. They believe that these fires can be battled using the cloud seed technique, which induces rain artificially by increasing the cloud's potential to precipitate more.
एक नया प्रोजेक्ट भी हम लोग ला रहे हैं जो IIT
We are launching a new project of cloud seeding soon, which has been experimented by Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. Cloud seeding is a new technique which has been used quite frequently by Gulf countries, for instance UAE and Qatar. We are trying our best to bring cloud seeding in Uttarakhand to control the frequency of forest fires in the region.
का वो किया जाए जिससे हम लोगों के फॉरेस्ट फायर्स कंट्रोल हों.
So why are the Uttarakhand forests getting out of control each year? The escalating frequency of forest fires in Uttarakhand is attributed to a blend of natural phenomena and human activities. as per the latest report from the Forest Survey of India, or FSI, state's forest cover spans 24,305 square kilometers, constituting approximately 44.5% of its total geographical area. These forests, predominantly populated by pine trees, are highly inflammable and thus prone to fires. Additionally, prolonged dry spells across the Himalayas, coupled with factors like excess biomass, have contributed massively to this occurrence. Typically, India's forest fire season lasts between November to June. The FSI website states that nearly 36% of forests in India are prone to fires. Fire incidents in the country are mainly reported during the months of March, April, and May. Due to the availability of dry biomass after the end of winter and before the summers. Nepal sees a spate of wildfires annually, but their number and intensity have increased in recent years, leading to drier winters. More than 450 wildfires were reported this year across the country, nearly double compared to last year. In May this year, firefighters and residents battled a massive wildfire on the outskirts of Nepal's capital. Emergency crews fought the blaze that engulfed a forest area in Lalitpur on the southern periphery of the Kathmandu Valley.
The country is in a dangerous situation right now because of wildfires. We are devastated by these incidents. There are reports of wildfires from across the country. Wildfires were low the last 2 years, which led to the accumulation of dried leaves on our forest floors. On top of that, our winter was very dry and the temperature now is also excessively increasing. This has aggravated the wildfires.
In 2021, Nepal battled its worst forest fires in years, with smoke blowing across the mountains in the capital city of Kathmandu. 5 people reportedly died trying to put out the fires. Forest fires often erupt in Nepal in the dry season between January and May, when villagers burn dry leaves to grow green grass for their cattle. Let's move now to another neighboring country, Bangladesh. The Sundarbans Reserve Forest is home to the world's largest mangroves. It spans 140,000 hectares in the southwest of Bangladesh. On May 3rd this year, a fire engulfed the forest after a severe heat wave. Firefighters were called in and civilians helped in preventing the fire from spreading. To protect the wild animals, the authorities slowed down the firefighting operations. But 3 days later, the fire came under control. According to UNESCO, the Sundarbans support an exceptional level of biodiversity, including significant populations of endangered cat species like the Bengal tiger, and other endangered species like the Ganges river dolphin and saltwater crocodiles. Large swaths of South and Southwest Asia have been sweltering under a heat wave since last month, with the El Niño phenomenon driving this year's exceptionally warm weather. What is El Niño and how does it drive such weather conditions? The climate phenomenon El Niño means little boy in Spanish. It refers to an abnormal warming of water in the Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean waters alternate between a warm and cold phase every 2 to 7 years. The cold phase, or La Niña, has effects opposite to El Niño. These patterns can provoke extreme weather phenomena like wildfires, tropical cyclones, and prolonged droughts. It causes intense heat waves, more powerful storms, and prolonged hot seasons. And 2024 has been no exception. Dozens of wildfires are burning all over the world, sending unhealthy smoke into the sky. At present, Venezuela is battling a record number of wildfires as a climate change-driven drought plagues the Amazon rainforest region. Satellites registered over 30,200 fire points in Venezuela this year, from January to March, the highest level since records started in 1999. It includes fires in the Amazon as well as the country's other forests and grasslands. The Amazon forest, that produces 20% of Earth's oxygen, is also referred to as the planet's lungs. An inferno in the Amazon, 2/3 of which lies in Brazil, threatens the rainforest ecosystem and affects the entire globe. The wildfires are growing larger, spreading faster, and reaching higher. They are scaling mountains that were earlier too wet and cool to have supported fires this fierce. Each year, these fires are getting more intense, killing a greater number of trees and eliminating entire forests. Unless the mindset shifts from fighting forest fires to mitigating the risks that cause them, such extreme events will continue to happen and threaten Earth's lungs.